The eighth shard stabilizes. It rose like a second moon, crimson and uninvited. Where once there had been ash and memory, now hovered a shard unlike the others. Angular, volatile, pulsing with a logic that bent not just the sky above, but time itself. The ruins of Yuki's puppet city, once a ghostly scar erased by divine judgment, had become a canvas again, not for rebuilding, but for rewriting. No trumpet announced its arrival. No beam fell to the earth. Instead, the shard settled into the air like a thought taking root, and from its base, a spiral field began to bloom. Soft at first, rippling across the still air in invisible waves. Then stronger, tighter. Trees near the epicenter straightened, as if growing in reverse. Cracks in stone began to mend, silently and without urgency. The wind hummed backward, pulling dust into collapsed walls, rebuilding ghostly fragments of a world that should not return. Raphael's analysis came in like a blade of truth through illusion. Detected chronoinversion waveforms. Localized attempt at retroactive coherence. Goal: restabilize temporal mana logic by forcibly reconstructing erased causality. In simpler terms, Velzion was trying to undo what had already been erased. Not just to fix it, to perfect it. This wasn't mercy. This was recursion. A divine system unable to tolerate gaps in its narrative, choosing instead to rebuild the past into something that made sense to it. Even if that meant faking history. Even if that meant overriding memory with code. From Tempest, the sky glowed wrong. The red shard didn't judge like the others. It wasn't neutral. Its spiral field didn't observe. It instructed. Beneath it, the earth began to glow faintly, not from mana, but from reactivated echoes. Echoes of people, places, conversations. Not alive, but data-bound. Whispers in the wind. Fragments of Yuki's soldiers. Market stalls reappearing like painted illusions. The hollow outline of a once bustling square. They weren't real, but they fit. And in Velzion's logic, that was enough. It's not correcting the present, Raphael said. It's redefining the past to stabilize the now. And if it succeeded, then what was once lost would become canon, even if it never truly happened. Rimuru stood at the edge of the observation map, watching crimson geometry blossom where only dust had existed a day before. Is this still correction? He asked. Raphael's pause said everything. This is creation. Velzion had stopped being a judge and started becoming an author. Hinata's inner conflict deepens. The fragment hummed again, softly, like a forgotten hymn trying to crawl back into her thoughts. Hinata sat beneath the marble arch of the old Tempest library, eyes closed, sword set aside, for once not out of readiness, but resignation. She had silenced her body, but her mind was louder than ever. The divine fragment, once dormant, now pulsed with vision. Not command, not prophecy, but scenarios. Futures not yet written, or perhaps already written and waiting to be chosen. Each one danced through her thoughts like candlelight. A world where she accepted the role of balancer, and nations bowed to her unseen influence. A world where conflict was impossible, because she smoothed it out before it ever began. A world where war became a statistical improbability. A world where she walked alone. And that last detail never changed. No matter the simulation, no matter the version of peace offered to her, she always stood at the end of it, watching, remembering, unseen. A beautiful world cradled in glass logic, where she was no longer hated or feared, but no longer herself, either. Would I be happy? She asked to no one. The fragment pulsed. Not with yes, not with no, but with acceptance. The kind of answer that systems give when they do not understand the question. In another corner of Tempest, people smiled. They lived. They rebuilt. Hinata knew what that meant. If she said yes, if she accepted the balancer's role, she could protect this moment forever. No more monsters rising. No more demons twisting morality. No more Rimurus burning down logic to rescue lives. Just quiet control. Just correction. But at what cost? Her fire? Her conviction? Her edge? Is peace worth the death of my will? She whispered the question into the wind. The fragment glowed faintly again, and again did not answer. That night, she did not sleep. She sat beneath the stars, knees drawn in, fragment pulsing gently in her palm. And for the first time in her life, Hinata Sakaguchi was afraid not of failure, but of becoming perfect. Rimuru investigates the new shard. The skies above the ruins no longer mourned. They listened. Rimuru approached beneath a cloak of cloaking. Not spell work, not glamour, but a layered suppression matrix built by Raphael himself. With Diablo gliding behind like a shadow made flesh and Soai ahead. A whisper without wind, they moved like observers of a painting yet unfinished. What they found was not just a remnant. It was construction. Where once the eighth shard had floated alone, its spiral field now pulsed around a central silhouette. Not fully formed, but forming. A body, a frame, built not from flesh or metal, but from mana remembered. The erased city's ambient spiritual echo had been recollected, pulled together, refined, condensed, into what Raphael called Shard Avatar, a projected physical node, potentially autonomous. Rimuru narrowed his eyes. Is it him? Not Velzion himself, Raphael answered, but a carrier, a vessel, a system-mind fragment, built to interact or enforce. The shape hovered in the center of the spiral, a humanoid shell of translucent red glass, filled with light that didn't flicker. It calculated. No face, no movement, but its presence was exact, like it belonged there, like it had been waiting to be assembled all along. It's not scanning, so I whispered. It's remembering. And he was right. The avatar wasn't learning. It was replaying, watching the ruins as they had once been, walking paths that no longer existed, standing where figures had died, as if mourning with data, or rehearsing the past to anchor a rewritten present. Diablo stepped forward once, then stopped. It's not hostile, yet, Raphael added, but it's becoming something. Rimuru reached out with his perception, not to touch, but to understand. And in the briefest moment, he felt a pulse from the shard above. A ping, not like a scan, more like a heartbeat. The body below responded. A hum, a flicker, a step. The avatar moved, not toward them, just once, a single step forward into memory, into story, into role. He's not watching anymore, Rimuru murmured. He's acting, and just as he said it, a voice rang out from the outer edge of the ruin. Casual, smiling, too timely to be coincidence. So you saw it too. Yūki had returned. Yūki returns. He appeared as if he had never left. No grand entrance, no spell, no scar, just Yūki Kagerizaka, standing at the edge of a ruin reborn, hands in his pockets, smiling like the world hadn't just begun collapsing under divine calculus. Fancy meeting you here, he said. Rimuru didn't answer. Not immediately. He watched him, not with hate, not with fear, but with the same cautious respect one gives a wild variable in a perfect equation. Because Yūki wasn't part of Velzion's system. He was the glitch it hadn't accounted for. The crimson shard pulsed behind them like a second sun bleeding through clouds. The incomplete avatar stood motionless but aware. And Yūki? He looked pleased. You thought I was running, he said. I wasn't. I was waiting for him to get serious. Rimuru's voice was low. You baited Velzion? Yūki shrugged. Didn't take much. Erase a city. Break a rule. Bend a truth so hard it starts looking like a lie. And boom, our god starts improvising. Raphael confirmed it in a whisper. He's not wrong. The 8th shard is non-standard. Generated in reaction to Yuki's pattern. Adaptive containment logic, evolved correction. Yūki stepped forward, past a broken pillar that hadn't existed the day before. He's trying to seal chaos in a box, he said. But what happens when the box doesn't fit? When it eats its own walls? He pointed at the avatar. He's building an agent, a body, a proxy, and I'm going to shatter it from the inside. Rimuru's expression didn't change. Why tell me? Because I'm not your enemy anymore, Yūki said. Not if you still care about freedom. And if I don't, Yūki smiled wider. Then I'll break Velzion alone. The sky above them flickered, not with lightning, With input, the shard had heard every word, and the construct tilted its head. It understood speech now. That thing is listening, Diablo warned. Good, Yuki said. Let him listen, because this was no longer just about judgment. It was about who would define the world once all definitions failed. And Yuki, for all his chaos, had only ever asked one thing. What happens if the god makes a mistake? And now, he was about to give it one. Clash of wills. The ruin was silent, but not empty. Beneath the red shard's spiral hum, three forces stood in imperfect symmetry. Rimuru, the anomaly who embraced evolution. Yuki, the contradiction that could not be predicted. And the shard avatar, still forming, still watching. Above them, the sky had changed, not in color, but in logic. Every movement now pulled against the tension in the air, like the world itself was holding its breath. The avatar took a step forward. Its form was clearer now. Humanoid, yes, but not human. Too precise, too smooth, like a mannequin built from algorithm. A face began to form, not a real one, a placeholder, as if Velzion had yet to decide what emotion looked like. It's modeling us, Raphael said, in real time. It's choosing who to copy, Rimuru added. Yuki smirked. Well then, let's give it something confusing. He stepped closer to the construct, arms open, unarmed. You want a world without contradiction, he said, speaking to the thing, or the god behind it. Then explain me. The avatar tilted its head. A flicker, a pulse. Its chest glowed, a spiral core forming, identical in pattern to the shard overhead. But this one pulsed erratically, like it had hiccuped, like it had just met a paradox it couldn't file away. Yuki grinned. See? I don't fit. Your simulation's beautiful, elegant, but it's boring, and I'm not done breaking it. Rimuru watched this unfold with caution, not awe, because while Yuki might be unpredictable, Velzion was still learning, and learning fast. If that thing finishes sinking, Raphael warned, it will become autonomous. It may act, interpret, enforce. Then we stop it before it decides what justice looks like. Rimuru stepped forward now, not to fight, to be seen, to remind Velzion that if it wanted to define reality, it had to reckon with his version of it too. And that's when the construct looked at them both. Not one, not the other, both. And its voice, synthesized, fractured, not yet human, echoed across the broken field. Input received, divergence accepted, proceeding to simulated resolution. The ground began to shake. The shard overhead pulsed, and the avatar raised its hand, not in greeting, but in command, because now the system was no longer watching. It was choosing, and whatever came next wouldn't be a trial. It would be Velzion's first move.